is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
I am Sonia B. Welcome to A Common Thread, the wins, the losses, and the curveballs of life. Eva could not be with us here this evening, but we are here, and we're glad that you're here to join us today. Well, we have our special guest back. She was here about 3 weeks ago, or maybe it's been longer than that, maybe a month. It was September 17th to be exact. So for those of you that want to go back and watch it, go on our YouTube channel.
Nope, you keep talking. I got you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to keep on talking. So she was here September 17th, and she had such an amazing story that we wanted her to come back because, our stories are so complex and so much to share. And we were like, oh, we can't just have like a cliffhanger, right? Because then it's like you leave us hanging, you leave everybody out there hanging. And so we kind of want to complete that story. And she left us off. I think I'm going to let you do that part as far as where we left off. And because it was titled Sandy's Story, a Journey. And we were talking about friendship. And she was kind of like talking about someone in her life at that moment that was kind of a pivotal piece or important part of her story. And we wanted to kind of give the mic to her. Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks for having me. So last time we were talking, I was talking about a part of my life story where I was changing careers. I was changing careers so that I could have a family, start a family, and having a flexible schedule, which as a teacher, my schedule wasn't flexible. So I applied for this job, and I told you guys how I had gone past the recruiter's office and I ended up stopping, and my resume got walked to the director's office of the patient advocate department, and I ended up getting a job as an interpreter. Was really fascinating for me because it really enhanced my my language skills in Spanish. I was able to expand my vocabulary to medical vocabulary, which actually has been very useful to me now that I'm working in hospital setting. So that's been fantastic. I was in the teaching career. I was able to expand my vocabulary in just general conversation and educational, bring it up to the academic level that I have in English. And it's not quite there, but a lot closer. And then in the hospital, I was able to gain vocabulary for medical vocabulary. But I will tell you that the person that interviewed me for the job, I was waiting for the interview, and I was out on a vacation, actually, really struggling with some issues, just connection issues with someone in particular in my life. And the woman who called me was one of the current interpreters in the department, and she called me to interview me and just to make sure that I could actually speak Spanish. So we just talked in Spanish for like an hour and a half, and it was so I think it was a divine appointment because this particular friend had a lot of strong ideas and very, very passionate, and recognized that she had something important in life to do, and that it didn't matter if she was recognized by everyone else as important. Wherever she was and whatever she was doing, that was important, and she was going to give it her best. And so that was very impressive to me. And I was able to introduce her to things like ideas like homeschool, which she had never thought of because she was going to be a career woman. And anyway, really, really great friend to this day. And then one of the other women that worked as a patient advocate. So my friend Angelica was from Mexico and is now a U.S. citizen. And then in the process, also meeting another person in that patient advocate office where we serve patients and make sure that they have a a good experience at the hospital. My friend Sabina, who was actually from Bosnia. So I was able to meet two people in from two different places in the world and really connect with them on a soul level. And we have deep conversations. We struggle and argue and worst case scenario things, and we get together for birthdays. And I've actually been able to travel with one of my friends from there. Angelica and I took a trip for my 50th birthday to Greece. And had an amazing spiritual walk there, which you wouldn't expect. You're going on vacation, right? You're going to have fun, to chill, but really met some interesting people, felt the presence of God walking in with us and really giving us an opportunity to celebrate who God had created us to be.
Mm.
And it was just fabulous. Even, I mean, it might sound silly, but we even did the flying dress photos while we were there,
Aw.
just kind of soaring as a 50-year-old woman in and God allowing us to celebrate that in such a beautiful way. And those pictures are just fantastic. They just really give me that feeling, that take me right back to that trip and remembering how we walked through different things and we didn't always have plans, but that God kind of guided us through. One time my friend got lost and somebody picked her up and brought her back and prayed with her. And another time we were just able to have conversations with people and bring joy to people. When we walked in the room, like at the breakfast room, we'd seen people at other parts of our trip, and then we ran into them again, and they're like, "Hey!" They were just so happy to see us, and it was joyful. It was amazing. I think God really blessed that trip. But anyway, so I went to work at the hospital. I did interpreter for 2 years, and then I went to nursing school. And the nursing school was a 2-year associate's degree, but it was a step, right? A step towards where I needed to go. And then was able to transition from interpreter to a nurse at the hospital, all of these things. So the people that I connected with, when I was interpreting, I translated for a lot of people that had transplants and things like that. So I started out in the renal floor, moved to women's services, and then worked women's services while I had 2 beautiful children. And God just opened up doors. And sometimes, you look at like the children of Israel in the Bible, and they've hit the Red Sea. They're being chased behind by the Egyptians coming to take them back to Egypt. And God's saying, no, we're going forward. But in front of them is the sea. And until they stepped out in faith and put their feet into the sea, the water did not part. And I think I've experienced that a lot in my life. I've been willing to, it's almost like, it's not morphing, but it's like shift and pivot and okay, this is not what I had planned, but I've been able to pivot, and then God's blessing that wherever I'm going. Finally, I made some connections, providential, I'm sure, with a nurse that was a manager for a short period of time at Walls Hospital in Cleburne, and then moved over to Hughley Hospital. And I was working at downtown. Hughley Hospital was a lot closer to my home. But I was like, no, I'm happy here. And then a series of events happened at Harris Downtown that forced me to move. And it's kind of funny because I laugh because at that time when she was saying, hey, you should come work for us over here, I was like, oh, it's so appealing because you're so much closer to my home, but I'm really comfortable where I'm at. And I try not to say that anymore because when I find that when I'm really comfortable where I'm at, it's time to move, and God moves me if I'm not willing to move myself. So ended up having to move. I didn't get fired, but there were some differences of opinion, and we discussed it back and forth, and then I just finally decided to, I have to move.
I remember when you went through that. Yeah, we had long discussions about it. Yep.
So getting to Hughley Hospital was interesting. I really was sad that I had to leave the other place, and I'd been there 11 years. So I really had a hard time getting heart connections with the people at the new hospital. I saw people filling roles that I had filled in the other hospital, and I didn't feel like I could compete with the level that they were at. And so I as far as they were simple roles like morale boosting and things like that, where I felt like I shone at the other hospital, I had to find a different spot for myself because those roles were already taken. And I can always be positive and affirming, right? But there were some like cheerleader roles and like, those kind of things that I were already taken. So when God moved me over to that other hospital, it wasn't without some challenges because I the manager that had invited me over said, I've got a position. I said, I don't want the position you have. What did you consider this? And she said, yes. And she said, I'll open up a position for you. She opened up the position. I applied for it immediately. And that was like in the end of August. And then nothing. And I called like every week. I called, or I would go over and visit. I'd say, hey, how's it going? Just checking in to see what's going on with that job. I mean, literally, I was a pain. I was there. I tried and call every day, but every week I made a point of contact, whether it was an email, whether it was a phone call, whether it was a show up in person and say, hey, I just want to check in and see, are you still needing this? Well, what's going on? And eventually my position ended in October at the hospital. So I had to find something else. And that's when God put me in hospice. I was like, what? I'm working with moms and babies and new life, and now I'm going to go to hospice. Wow. But I didn't walk alone. God walked with me, and when I got there, Alice, the most amazing LVN you've ever met, walked me through the process of the documentation, all the things that I needed to know. She was a perfectionist, and she taught me how to do it right. And I stayed there for a period of 3 months and still did not have a job in women's services. And finally, I had to come to a point of acceptance. I had to say, okay, God, this is the last time I'm going to go check. If this is not for your will for me, then I'm going to move on. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to see where you want me to work in this area. And I went over it was December 3rd. I went over, I talked to her. I said, hey, I'm just checking in. And she did not know it was my last time to check in, but it was my last time to check in. But God did, right? And so I said, this is my last time to check in. No, I didn't. I said, I'm just checking in. I want to find out what's going on in the position. I really want to work with you guys. And she said, oh, okay. And she walked me right over to the HR, and we signed papers that day. And I was an employee December the 4th.
What?
Yes. Just ridiculous. It was like when you come to the point of acceptance and you're like, okay, whatever you want, God. I don't understand what's going on here, but whatever you want, I'm just going to walk forward. And yeah, so then I was hired. So then I had 2 jobs.
Well, because technically you could work for hospice and the hospital at the same time.
Yeah, because I could do shift work, and I could,
right.
And I was, I was on day shifts, so I was alive and awake. But on the hospice front, I was working a couple of night shifts, but they were on call. So, like, if they didn't need me, I didn't have to go in, which it actually worked out really nicely because they had a well-staffed team. So LVNs would go in first, and then I would go in later. A real blessing at a time when we needed some financial support in our family. It really, really, and that's a whole nother story, which we will not have time to hit today. But just watching God work things out, even when other people might not be figuring things out right away, and just teaching lessons to everyone involved in the story, so, and our whole family. So, I've been working at Hughley Hospital now all this time since 2014. I've been working there as a nurse. When I was at Harris Downtown, I also got my lactation license. So I've been working as a lactation, but when I came to Hughley, I wasn't sure what God wanted me to do there, but I came to work with another lactation consultant who was going through a very challenging time. Her husband had a terminal illness, and it was also genetic, and would go to her children as well. And they both knew that this relationship was, that his life was going to end, right? And at that time, he was really experiencing the challenges that come with that disease process. I don't remember what the diseases he had, but I was able to support her by being it was the first time that they had hired a second lactation consultant. So I was able to support her through the challenges that she was going through with her husband. She didn't confide in me. She already had deep confidence, but she needed that work support, that someone could help carry the load. And so I was able to help with that. And I feel like that's why God moved me. At this point, I'm still every day looking for confirmations that that he is still using me. But it was really a blessing to be able to help her at that time. And I have I've really, really enjoyed my time at Hughley Hospital. Trying to think what else I have done, because I was able to finish my bachelor's degree at Hughley.
Good
They
for you.
provided education. I think we already talked about that. And that was a real God thing. It took me 4 years, but hey, we finished,
We
right?
finished.
And
Yeah.
recently sat for a certification exam. We'll see. I have to wait 10 to 21 days to see if I pass that. But and so that'll be my second certification. That and just God's just blessing. I mean, none of these things were things that I had originally planned to do. And yet, because I was willing, I was flexible, I was able to pivot. God just continues to show up and allow me to be in his favor and in favor with like God and man. He allows me that, and I'm grateful. And I don't know that it will always be that way, right? But for now, that's where he has me, and I'm just super, super grateful to see how it doesn't matter where you're at. If you let God work, if you trust God, if you let him work in your heart and in your life, he will grow your territory. He will expand your territory. He will bless you beyond what you would ask or imagine. And I can't say that I can complain. Are there challenges in life? Yes. And most of them are with the relationships that are most intimate for us, right?
Right.
Because those are the people that you let in the closest, right?
Right.
But even those grow us, turn our thoughts, our hearts, our minds towards the place that God's supposed to have in our heart. And he's a jealous God. He doesn't want anyone else to take that spot.
Right.
He wants it, and he wants to hold it. And so the twists and turns of life just kind of keep shifting us back to focusing on that relationship with God. One thing I didn't talk about much, and I know we're getting to a point where we need to pause, but it was things that I depended on for joy and for happiness that God kind of removed from my life over time. And one of those things was food. You and I share that.
Yes,
we have that in common. We
I
like
love-
food.
Yeah, that's our common thread.
But when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was I just didn't have any cravings. With my son, I had wonderful. It's just like so fun to have cravings and be like, when you eat that thing, you're like, yes, this was what I wanted. This is satisfying.
Right.
And probably some of you can relate. But with my daughter, I would go for the cravings that I used to have, right? Or that I had in the past, or that I've always loved. And I would not find any satisfaction in it. And it was really disturbing, but it was definitely one more time that I had to shift and say, okay, God is my satisfaction. God is every good gift that I have, even foods that I enjoy, are given by God. And halfway through my pregnancy, I recovered cravings for soups and salads.
Oh, well, those are good cravings.
Those are good cravings. I know.
know.
I didn't have a lot of bad cravings with my daughter, but soups and salads. And I was so grateful to finally find things that hit my palate and just provided that satisfaction and that, feeling of, okay, I have eaten,
I love it. I love it.
Another thing that God really revealed to me was my dependence on music for a primary channel for my relationship with him. And I was helping lead worship at Burleson Seventh Adventist Church, and I loved it. And then when we had children, we started finding it difficult. Well, we had our second child when my daughter was born, finding it difficult to get from our town to Burleson every Saturday morning to go to church. And so we lived 1 block from the church in our town. So it was a lot easier just to walk over there than to get dressed, get busy, get ready, get there early, get over into Burleson. So we shifted. And in that church, the church we shifted to was much bigger. And so there wasn't as much of a need. There was a lot more talent, way better than me. And so I didn't get the opportunity to work in the music. And also the songs that I was listening to, even though they were Christian mostly, just were not hitting my heart. And it was almost like God redirected me and said, I don't just want a relationship with you through music. I want a deep and intimate personal relationship with you. And I always have a difficult time being consistent with devotional time, like reading. And I get a book and I really like it, and then after the book is gone, then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And it's like, I've read the Bible many times, I've read through it, and all these books that I'm reading tie into the stories, and they kind of bring a new light or new perspective on them. So for about 4 years, I don't know if any of you have ever read or heard of Sarah Young. She has the book Jesus Calling.
Yeah.
She has a devotional book called Jesus Calling. And I actually, for 4 years, consistently read that book almost every day. And that was an amazing period of time in my walk with God, where there was a consistent, without fail, without challenge, devotional time with God. And it was an amazing time. I still have a great relationship with God. I'm still working on finding the next Jesus Calling book. That's something that will, consistently connect with what I need, and also with the stories that I love and hold true. But God removed the music for a while. I'm getting back to that point where the music's hitting my heart again, but he wanted something deeper and more intimate. And so food, and then even like your spousal relationship, he wants something deeper than that. So in those challenging times and those struggles, when you're having trouble connecting for whatever reason, those also turned me towards God and hanging on to him for stability when I couldn't find it where what I thought I needed or what I wanted. He was always consistently there. And so just watching God remove even my children when they were young, we had such a beautiful time, the snuggles, the cuddles, the dependency, then mom, I need, mom. And now they're growing up and they're becoming adults and they're separating. And so once again, I get to pivot and say, hey, God, I
What
know.
now?
Yeah. What next? Where do you want me now?
What's next?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. The pivoting, the changing, what I hear, or what I've been hearing is, you have put God to the test. He has allowed you to shift and pivot, and you have been flexible enough to do that. But you've also been like, okay, God, what now? And so what do I do? And then taking the risk, because that's what faith is, not just, what we believe, but it's like believing and then going, right? Abraham, right? Abraham, God told him go, he heard, he went. He had no idea where he was going, but he trusted God. He said, okay, I don't know what's going on. And then he did it again with his son. We're going to go up to this hill. You're going to kill your son. And he had the knife up in the air, and he said, they held his hand, stop. I know that you won't withhold anything from me, but please don't kill him. Right? Somehow he knew that God was going to make he's going to be the father of all nations, right? Through this son, he was going to do that. Well, I don't know. Maybe God's going to resurrect him. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm going to trust him. And so there's these stories, and we have to remember the people in the Bible, look at them as these like superheroes, but they're no different than you and I. And they have stories, we have stories, you have a story, and we can see how the common thread, or how God's thread, like we ended it the last time. We see a quilt. We see how beautiful a quilt looks when somebody is, the finished product. When we look behind it, we see all the knots and the things that cross over, and it looks messy. But then there's this beautiful thing on the outside, right? And sometimes our life may even look messy to ourselves and even maybe to other people, but we don't know what God is doing inside. So I really appreciate you allowing God to kind of guide you through your life and being flexible and trusting him enough to know that he's going to get you through it. And here you are.
There I am.
Here you are. Well, I'm going to wait for the music because it's going to come on in a minute. There it goes. It's very faint, but I hear it. Well, we're going to go to commercial and we want you to come back. So please join us again on the second half. See you then.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Welcome back to A Common Thread. This is our second half. I'm going to read some commercials. NTX Radio proudly serves all of North Texas and can be heard all over the world on TuneIn Radio Network and on NTX Radio app, available on Android and Apple CarPlay, or just ask Alexa to play on NTX Radio. Check out our lineup and more at ntxradio.com. We thank our valued sponsors in helping us amplify the voices of North Texas communities and businesses. So, protect your family with a will or trust. Connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorneys at law, for all your civil law needs at texasattorneylaw.com. Processing credit cards? Join the Swipe Nation today and save on processing fees and at swipenationusa.com. Locally owned and operated, and will beat any rates. Got sleeves? Dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com for women's accessories and more. Made in the USA. And it's time to take your business to the next level. Hosting a radio show and a podcast is a powerful way to connect with a wider audience, build brand awareness, and drive sales. Let's discuss your business goals and how a custom show can help you achieve them. Email Tiffany at t.hurd@ntxradio.com to get amplified. All right. We're grateful for our sponsors. So we left off saying that God, there's a plan. I mean, we have a plan, and then God has another plan, right? And sometimes our plans and God's plans go according to like what he wants, right? But sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't. And I was asking Sandy off camera as far as because we all can relate to somebody. It could be someone in the Bible, it could be a sports figure, it could be someone famous, but we can all relate to someone's story, maybe kind of like our own story, right? Who do you think is someone in the Bible that you would say that is relatable to your story?
I would have to say, in general, my story relates to a lot of the biblical figures like Joseph and Moses and Abraham, because you see how the plot twists that God carries them through, and you see that God comes through in the end. So I see all of those things, but I think if I had to relate to one figure in particular, I feel like at a lot of times I would feel a little my self-esteem would suffer a little, because I would feel like I see these people with direction, and they're going and they're moving and they're making big splashes and statements. And mine seems to be going this way and then this way and then this way, back and forth with, and it feels directionless. And so I kind of related to Moses, because God called Abraham, because God called Abraham away from his family and to do something different. And he didn't tell him where he was going. And I feel like I kind of relate to Abraham in that way, because my story, I had one intention, but I had to pivot. Like I told you, like I mentioned, I was pivoting, and it felt directionless sometimes when I looked at myself from the way others would see me, even though I could point out God's leading and directing and opening doors. The end game wasn't apparent, right? Where do you actually, where does this end up? How does this work out? I've had to learn a lot, though, to be satisfied and grateful for wherever I'm at. And I think I know you can relate to that a lot. Just finding the gratitude in wherever I'm at allows me to carry joy with me, allows me to carry encouragement, allows me to carry peace. And I obviously, I've seen that in your life as well. Just being real and living with the realities that we're facing here in this world day by day. I'm sure that many of you can think of challenges that you faced, but then also seeing like real life stories of Abraham stories where God comes through and he opens doors and continues walking, so that we can encourage and inspire other people.
There's power in stories. And I always try to encourage people to share their story. And, as a chaplain, I walk into rooms, and I know every single person that I walk into a room has a story. And stories have power and can change lives. And you coming on here and sharing, because this is like, there's a lot that goes into this, when everyone is watching, and all the podcasts that show on this amazing NTX radio, there's a lot that goes into the prepping part, right? We don't just come on here and kind of be like, oh, okay, Sandy shows up like a minute before we get on, and then we kind of just wing it, right? There's a lot of prepping, but there's also a lot of like vulnerability that takes place when we do that. And our hope for me and Eva, the hope is a common thread, right? There's a lot of shows that, maybe talk about other things. We kind of wanted to have our show to bring people together, not really separate, because we have a lot of that going on and we don't need more. And we also understand that you may not agree with everything that we're saying on the show either, and that's okay too, because we respect that. But we wanted to create a show where there's a common thread, that no matter what your walk of life is, no matter what you've gone through, we have this common thread. Like, even if you're not a believer, even if you believe something completely different than what I believe, I'm a Christian, Sandy's a Christian, you may not be one. You may maybe be Muslim or be Buddhist or maybe an atheist. Whatever your beliefs are, we can all relate that we've all gone through something. And like I said, even if it's not the Bible that is not your go-to or is not what you live by, then I'm sure that whatever book or whatever belief system you have, because we all have something, we all have a belief system. Even if we don't believe in a God, we believe in something, right? So that kind of affects our life, and that's how we kind of allow it to ground us, right?
It grounds us. It gives us guidance. It gives us vision,
Right.
focus.
Right. And so our hope is that when we have like Sandy and others that come on the show and share stories, or when even we don't have a guest, our hope is that encouragement they bring, there's something relatable to Sandy, that you relate to her and you're like, oh yeah, I've gone through that. Gosh, God had made me go through a maze. There was like a 10-year period that I was just like, I didn't know where I was going. But then there was this moment of like where you meet and then you're like, oh, now I understand, right? I mean, even the Bible, like there was a time where the disciples didn't understand what was going on. And Jesus said to them, you don't understand all of this right now, but one day you will. And those words are powerful because, like, I don't understand everything that's happened in my life. And I sometimes still don't understand everything, but I still trust God that He's working it out. And it doesn't mean that I always like it, because I'm sure there were moments that you didn't like it either, right? You were like, I don't want to be a nurse or a teacher. Here I am, right?
But I've had such beautiful connections with my students and with my patients, and opportunities to serve in ways that I just never imagined.
Well, for those of you there, Sandy's an amazing nurse and an amazing person, and I'm honored to be your friend. And yeah, she's just wonderful.
My friend. Likewise.
So, but there's a lot of people in the Bible too that had moments. I'm not going to read all of them, but I, would read one that's really, really a good one is Joseph. Man, Joseph.
Definitely.
Gosh.
Talk about plot twist.
Talk about a plot twist. So I'm just going to give a little synopsis for those that are not familiar. So Joseph was the brother. He was number 11 or 12.
He was 11.
Number 11. So he was number 11, daddy's favorite. Other brothers got jealous. And then they plotted to, they wanted to kill him actually. But then they said, oh, we'll just, leave him here in this pit to die. And then they trade him to become a slave to the Egyptians, right? So it says, I'm going to read the synopsis. So Joseph's brothers sell him into slavery and he ends up in Egypt. I bet you can bet Joseph didn't plan on being betrayed by family or thrown in prison for a crime he did not commit. And how many years was he in jail? A long time. But years later, he's running the show. Then what does God do?
But even in the middle of that too, just real quick, reflecting back, when he was a servant, he rose to the top. God brought him to the top. When he was in the prison, he became in charge. And then when he moved into leadership, he once again, God brought him into the pinnacle of success.
Right. And, I get excited. So, God has a plan, but the enemy has a plan too. Right. So there's really three plans going on. There's God's, there's the enemy, and there's ours. Right.
Right.
And God wants us to go in his will, right? Your will be done. And he hopes that we're flexible enough to trust him but that comes with building a relationship, right? And even putting God to the test at times and kind of trusting him with that. So in this story in particular, so Joseph, I guess, had a plan, whatever that plan was, right? I'm sure it was to grow up, to get married at some point, etc. His brothers do this. And he also had a series of dreams, right? And that's why the brothers got upset too, not just because. So there's a lot to the story, but we're not going to get into all the details. But if you're interested in reading it, it's between Genesis 37 and 50, right? So you can kind of have an idea where it is. So then he's thrown into prison. He's sold into slavery, thrown into prison. Now he's far away from his family, his life, his culture, his religion. I mean, although he had his religion in him, but he wasn't around that support system of having that, right? So the devil had a plan to discourage him, to take him out, to do all these things. And then God's like, nope.
Plot twist.
Plot twist. And so he, ends up being second in command to Pharaoh. Talk about, wow. And now years later, then there's a famine, and then his brothers come back. Now he's older, right? So they don't recognize him because he was like 17 when he was young, right? He was a young guy, young man. And now he's probably about 30-ish, maybe early 30s. So, probably facial hair now, and who knows, changed. And so then
he looked like an Egyptian because
yeah, that's true.
He probably had, they didn't have a ton of facial hair, but a ton of hair, but they did have the beard, the goatee.
The goatee, right? Yeah. So that's true. So he looked different because he wasn't in his normal attire or what they had saw him in the last time, right? Or what they're used to seeing people in their culture dressed like. And they go there now because there's a famine going on, and they're like, well, we need food. Otherwise we're going to go hungry and we're going to die. But Joseph recognizes them. Now Joseph could take revenge on them, but he doesn't. And then at some point reveals who he is to them.
He does a few tests.
He
does
does.
To see if their hearts are still the same as they were when he knew them before.
Right.
And that's important for all of us to remember, because we might run into people who maybe treat us badly or even have hurt us in some way. But as time goes by, God works on all of our hearts to transform and grow us. So there's an opportunity to change for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, when there's breath, there's life.
That's right.
When there's life, there's hope, right? There's hope that someone can change when they're still living, right? And so I like what Joseph did. I think what he did was appropriate. He wanted to see if his brothers' hearts were changed.
But then he realized why he was in that position, not just to help the Egyptian people or the surrounding nations to make sure that they didn't starve to death, but God put him there, and the plan was already implemented before the problem was there. God implements solutions before the problem is there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was able to save and provide for his family in ways that he had no idea that they were even going to need.
Wow. And that's what all the dreams were about. They came true.
And even his brothers recognized,
right?
Because over time they had seen their father mourning, and that broke them.
Right.
And when they realized what they had done, and they realized the gravity of the sin that they had committed against their father and against their brother, against their family as a whole, it changed and transformed them in some way.
Right. Yeah. And that's what God wants. God doesn't want perfection. Mm-hmm. He wants, there's that saying, practice makes perfect. No, practice makes better. Yeah. Because I think using the word perfect puts a lot of pressure on people, because that means that we're never going to make a mistake ever. And that's not true.
And that also means we never can be vulnerable or
right.
open, because we're going to always be protecting that vision of perfection that we're trying to portray.
Right. And that all goes back to sharing our story, because none of what we do in our stories, not all of it's going to be flawless. Right. There's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way. But guess what? When you share those flaws, people see you as human. And those that maybe don't believe or maybe have a different belief system say, oh, they're real. They may still not maybe agree with your belief system, but now they can actually have a conversation with you.
There's a thread now. There's a connection. There's something common that we didn't have before.
Absolutely.
And that's that we are all human, fallible. We make mistakes, and we do our best to make amends for those mistakes.
Right. Wow. I get excited. So, but yeah, that's wonderful. The Bible talks a lot about, plans and God having a plan, and we have a plan. And one of them is in Proverbs 16:9. It says, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps.
And some people might take that to mean
We don't have a
that
choice.
God's not going to give you what you want or desire. But just like us as parents, we see our children and we know that they need to go to bed on time so that they can wake up and have a good day the next day. God knows us intimately. He knows exactly what our needs are. And so when we submit to his plans, ultimately that's the path to our joy. That's the path to our peace. And it's just a matter of understanding how much you are loved, cherished, desired. When you figure that out, there's no doubt. It's just like in a relationship when everything is going well and the other person, you and the other person are doing other things for each other that say you are valuable and important to me, the things that touch your heart. And for each person that's different, right? But in each relationship that looks a little different. But when that's happening, if they tell you something and even if it seems incredible or unbelievable, you have that connection, that trust that you will believe them. And I think that we need that when in our relationship with God. We have to walk this walk to be able to experience these situations where we're like, hey, I don't know anybody at this place where like you were just talking about career choices and ideas. And for yourself, I mean, you don't know anybody at that place. Does that mean that God doesn't know anybody at that place? No. And if God wants you there, he can open the way in incredible ways. And like I said, he provides. There's provision made before the problem arises. And you're anticipating 3-4 years down the road, right? Or I don't know when you're thinking, but so that provision is going to happen. So I made connections with the lady at Hughley Hospital, who wasn't at Hughley Hospital when I connected with her, but was when it was ready to find a job there. And then I ran into her again in a Fort Worth meeting, and that kind of set it up, right? So all those, just watch. They say hindsight is 20/20. It really is, because you look back and you see the dominoes fall into place. All of these that seemed random, but they were in the right place to turn and pivot you to where you needed to be in the next stage. I guess that's all I'm going to say.
That's okay. That's okay. This kind of goes back to what I said earlier about, God having a plan. We have a plan, and the enemy has a plan. So in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And so again, God gets a bad rap for a lot of things that happen in this world. And I get it, because God allows it and he has the power to stop it. But that's another conversation. And so we're not going to go into that one today, but
even in your experience, Sonia, though, some tragedies happened in your life that have broken your heart, but you have been surrendering that broken heart to God over and over. And here you are walking into a chaplaincy position where you can help other people walk through the challenges and the heartbreak that you walked through. What a powerful testimony to plot twist, right? Yeah. This was bad. This was not and I don't even think God intended for death to show up, right? No. We intended for us to have a full life here on this earth in communion with him. But despite that, you have put your life in his hands, and you have taken what you have learned, what you have gained, what you have felt, what you have struggled with, and now you have an opportunity to help other people walking through that same situation. I'm telling you, I have been so inspired by watching your walk, because I know every day is not easy. I see your posts on Facebook, and I know you're still feeling some of that heartbreak, right? But you're also saying, this heartbreak doesn't stop here.
Right.
This is going to go and help someone else. And that's what God does. He transforms heartbreak and challenges and trials that we walk through in this world as a result of sin, as a result of the effects of sin. And he transforms those into beautiful things, opportunities to help others.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's not easy most days. So, but, you just keep pushing forward. And the Bible talks about perseverance, right? And I think the one thing that for me was always like, well, I don't want the devil to win this. And unfortunately, sometimes there's casualties. And I don't like it. I can't make sense of it. I don't even want to explain it, because then that would explain sin, and we're not going to do that. But to God be the glory. That's all I can say. He just works it all out. I don't know how he does it, but he's God. And
well, here you are doing a podcast. I mean, what? Connecting people.
Right.
Reaching out and making connections, seeing how your life relates to other people's lives, seeing how my life, inviting me, thank you very much for letting me come, to how my life can touch and impact other people's lives. You're getting your master's degree. What?
November 7th, but who's counting? Woo!
And you're getting your master's degree. You're shifting your whole career choice to, it's the way life has shaped and molded you, but it's where your passion is and where you can be of most service where you're at. You can do a lot of amazing things. You have a lot of skills and talents, but this place is a place that not everyone can walk, but you can. You can walk there because and it's hard to walk with somebody in an experience that you don't understand.
Right.
But when then you have something to offer.
Right. And people see the compassion. I always tell people, you don't always, there's a moment, there's times to share the story, but then there's times just to be.
Yeah.
And people can see it.
Yeah.
Trust and believe that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so
authenticity comes through.
Oh, it comes through. Sometimes without words. A lot of times without words.
Absolutely.
Well, we have about 2 minutes. And so I just wanted to share these 4 points, I guess, and kind of close up the talk. We all make plans. Plans don't always work out. Whether you're living here in Texas or New York or somewhere across the sea, Christian, Muslim, atheist, or anything else in between, people everywhere try to map out their lives, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way, right? Life surprises us. Well, we both have learned that from life experience, right? And I'm sure life has surprised you too, those that are watching out there. And we look for meaning in the unexpected. Not immediately, because it doesn't always happen. Most times it does not happen immediately, but at some point we look for meaning in the unexpected, right? And so why did this happen? What am I supposed to do now, right? Those are all questions, regardless of what faith you are, that you're going to ask. And lastly, growth happens when we let go. So much of human wisdom across cultures and religions comes back to the idea of letting go, accepting that not everything's in our hands, and learning to adapt, trust, and even find hope in uncertainty. So we are so happy that you came to join us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Part
This has
2.
been a dream to do a podcast.
and we'd love for you to come back, and we can talk about a different topic next time.
I'm excited to come back and share again in the future.
We would love that. Well, thank you for joining us for this part 2 series, and we're just grateful that you could have been doing something else, but you're here with us, and we will be back here 6 p.m. next Wednesday. And I probably won't be here next week, but Eva will be back, and that's our music. So thank you for joining us. And like we always close the show, don't give up and hold on to Jesus. See you next week.
Tracy Civitas and Grandview to Godly, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100